What is going on, guys? In this video, I'm going to do a fantastic breakdown of how to rebuild the YouTube video page entirely in Tailwind CSS. So Tailwind CSS is this incredibly fast, efficient platform that I've been using, as well as a lot of other people, to rapidly prototype and build websites. It has both the functionality of like traditional CSS platforms like Bootstrap and stuff like that, while also allowing you to create what are called like custom utility classes, so that you can get the best of like traditional CSS and a lot of these next generation platforms. This is really sweet, kind of like multifunctional, multi-purpose prototyping framework, and it's like super popular. It's now one of the most popular CSS frameworks of all time, and I'm pretty sure it'll soon surpass Bootstrap if it hasn't already. So I was initially wanting to do this video as a live stream. However, turns out on YouTube you need to like verify your account after 24 hours or some crap like that. So I can't actually do that. Instead, what I'm going to do is just pre-record this, and then in the future, I'm going to try and stick to once per week of this like stream Tailwind CSS build stuff, because I think it's just like really good practice for me to continuously build websites in Tailwind CSS, and also for people that are watching that may have this weird, I want to say like overinflated view of how web development works, because all these people out there that show you guys how to like build something from scratch usually have another monitor hidden away that they're like glancing at and copying and pasting stuff through. And that is not a good way to learn. That's like pretty inefficient. If you think that, oh my God, like he just seems to know everything that's going on so fluidly, I'll get there one day, you're set up for I guess failure. My goal here is to be super realistic, show you guys and kind of think out loud while I'm rebuilding this whole thing. And I'm going to do it totally from scratch right in front of you. So this is the video page that we're going to try and like build. It's pretty simple, I guess. You have this nav bar up at the top, and that nav bar has this search feature and, this like little buttons and icons and stuff like that. And we're not going to have the exact buttons and icons. We're going to go for something that's pretty similar. But it looks like it's a little bit lighter than what we have in the background. Background's a little bit darker. We have this huge video div. And then it looks like this is split into two columns, honestly. So the left column, this could be a grid build. So grid is like a way to set content up on the page. Tailwind CSS has this really simple grid class that I love using. I definitely prefer it over to Flexbox. I'm a grid boy. And yeah, it looks like this is split up into like 5 or so grid calls, and then on the right hand side you have 1 column, and then on the left hand side you have 4. So this should be pretty simple to build, although I always do say that before it is like not simple to build. So we'll go from there. I'm going to use Nuxt as the platform that I'm doing the build on. So let me go over to here. This is like the app that I'm using right now. You don't actually need to use Nuxt. You can use whatever the hell you want. I'm just using Nuxt because I'm super familiar with it, super easy. The actual HTML CSS part I'm going to be doing entirely in one giant ass file. So yeah, it's not like, best practices or anything like that. You can imagine how you'd refactor that later into several components for your own purposes. But anyway, if you do want to follow along with exactly everything that I've set up here, all you need to do is go into a new folder, type npx create-nuxt-app. That is an npx executable, so it'll execute this create Nuxt app program, essentially, this command line program, and it'll build an entire like Nuxt workflow for you. After that, go over to tailwindcss.com and just follow the instructions for how to install Tailwind CSS with Nuxt.js. That is literally it. That's everything that I've done, and that's how I built this page. This is just the example that we have here. So I'm actually going to just be really cheeky and just tab back and forth between the two. Some people don't like doing that. They like having it on a separate monitor, but I want to show you guys exactly what my actual workflow is like. We have this tutorial div. I will actually just get rid of that, and then instead I'm just going to go BG black, width full, H full for now, and then I will just save that, and we will reload it. In the bottom right hand corner you can see this Nuxt like build thing. We'll reload. It'll basically show you the progress of every reload. And I think I've already made a mistake of some kind because we don't actually see anything. So let me go width full H screen, and then yeah, I don't actually need this export default anymore, so I'm just going to get rid of that. Okay, cool. So now we know that our Tailwind classes are working. This is just a sanity check. Awesome. Everything is good to go. You notice that the background of this stuff isn't actually black. It's kind of like dark gray almost. So I will go in here and I don't know if our gray is going to work because it's like kind of blue, but we'll just roll with it for now. Let me see. Yeah, it's definitely way too blue. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually just going to, I love how I'm like, hey, we're going to use Tailwind CSS here, but I think I'm going to make a new class and call it, and this is not best practice either, I'm going to call it BG Gray, and then I'm going to call it like 1000. And then the background color of this is just going to be like super dark, but not completely black. Let's do that. Let's just go that, just for completeness' sake. So yeah, there you go. That is much more realistic. Cool. So this is going to be like the background div, and then I will have to use like those gray classes. And eventually I'm probably just going to like make, change something in the Tailwind config so that it's set up. And you can see I'm using this like code completer called Codex. Codex is like this artificial intelligence, software, which essentially goes through and it predicts the most likely next sequence of characters, so it kind of helps your code out quite a bit. I actually probably produce, 30, I want to say 30% of all of my code with Codex now. It's a fantastic partner. But for web development stuff, particularly that's more creative, I tend to shy away from it. So yeah, I'm just not going to use that as much. But you are going to see these like crazy tooltip things. I like to just have it around. Okay, so the very first thing we see is up at the very top, we have a full width div, looks like, right? Yeah, full width div. And then for now, I'm just going to go like H8. And then let's just go, actually, to make this really simple, I'll just go BG green 600. And then we will do this. And the idea is we're going to be able to like mimic what we can see here. Yeah, there you go. That looks pretty good. It's actually about like 2 times as thick. Let me just make sure this is an actual class. Yeah, it is. So we have this div up at the very top. Now the thing about this div is this div looks like it's width full, and there's like a little bit of padding on the left and the right side. So on the left side, I don't know, it's probably like 4. Right side, it's probably like 4, maybe more, maybe like 5 or 6. So what I already know right off the bat is this is just going to need a little bit of padding. So I'm going to go into the element here and just do like a px5. And we'll worry about mobile optimization and stuff like that later. So what this means now is everything is like pushed in a little bit from the left and the right side, px standing for like padding on the x-axis. So now that everything is pushed in a little bit, I'm going to start creating the divs. And then I'm just going to outline them so that they're going to be in like these crazy simple colors. And then after I've outlined them and kind of like scaffolded the page, I will actually start creating these specific elements. So it looks like this is flex aligned. This is justified between. So everything is as spread out as humanly possible. And there are 3 like top level divs. The first pushes everything to the left. Then you have this one in the center. And then you have another one on the right. So first thing I know right off the bat is I'm going to add a flex class to this. Then I'm going to go justify between, and then I'm also going to, and I just always do this basically, all modern design, almost all the time will have like an items center class as well. And so the flex is going to flex everything, justify between is going to push everything out as far away as possible from each other. The item center is going to center it vertically. So then I'm going to create 3 divs. The first div I'm going to do, I don't know, let's just add some explicit width parameters here to make it really simple. Let's do width 1/3. And I'm going to make this BG blue 500. And then let's just copy that twice. Good, so now we have a bunch of blues, and then I'm just going to change this to red, and then I'm going to change this to orange. Is that a class? Yeah, orange is actually a class now. Oh, and I think one thing that I should add as well is H full. So I just want this to like stretch vertically as much as humanly possible. Okay, great. So now we have these 3 different containers, basically. And, they're not perfectly aligned, and that's okay. We'll fix that later. You see how this padding is almost perfect, but it looks like it needs a little bit more. So just right off the bat, I'm going to change that to like a px8, for example. Then I'm going to go back. Yeah, there you go. That looks better. I'd say that's much closer to what it actually is like. Okay, and now I'm going to remove the explicit width properties and then focus on one individual div at a time. So on the left div here, you have what looks like an SVG. I'm not going to do like the functionality or anything like that. You're just going to get the SVG here, and it looks like it's just a hamburger menu. Then you have the YouTube logo, which is just an A tag. So that's like a clickable link. You can tell it's a clickable link because when you hover your mouse over it, you see like a clickable thing in the bottom left-hand corner. And yeah, we can actually source I think the hamburger icon really simply, and then this YouTube logo can just be sourced, I believe, from YouTube. Yeah, or I'll just Google it. So let us dive into this here. I'm going to create, and it looks like these are, by the way, just stacked side by side. So this would be flex as well. And we can just add a space class to add a little bit of space between the two. I don't know how much there is, maybe like space x4. It's probably good. You'll notice there's a lot of back and forth, this kind of stuff. Like I will do it, then I'm like, it doesn't really look like I want it to look, and then I'll go back, and then I'll do it again, and so on and so on and so forth. And because I'm adding a flex class, I'll also go item center, just like I always do. So the first thing is I'll have an SVG. Let me just add a little placeholder here, and then I'll have an A tag. And it looks like my auto linting, or not linting, auto completion thing isn't working right, because normally these tags all just close by themselves, but stuff like that's a massive productivity increase, especially when you're doing a bunch of this front-end heavy stuff. First thing I'm going to do is I'll go to Heroicons. They are, this is actually made by the people that made Tailwind CSS. I believe Steve Schroger, I think is his name, and he is a really cool guy. We'll just type hamburger, yeah, and then we have a menu here. So I'm just going to copy the SVG, paste this SVG right here. And I'm also like reformatting every couple seconds. It looks like this is white. So I'm going to go into the class, I'll go text white and then fill current. Although I don't actually think I need that fill current right now. I'm going to remove the blue class. And then, yeah, that should be the SVG. We'll screw around with the size later. And then the A tag, I'm going to go image, and then I'm going to just set an explicit link to the YouTube logo. So it should be here. And we want it to be, so this YouTube logo is white. So let me see, is this a black background? If this is, and we can't use that. YouTube logo, white, transparent. Let's see if we can just get something really simple. And then if we go back here, like what does this actually look like? Music? No. Yeah, it's kind of annoying. Yeah, it really sucks. I don't actually know if we can just get that. I mean, this is, you know what, this is probably an SVG if it's on YouTube, so maybe we can just like select it explicitly. Give my computer a bit of time. It is doing like 8 trillion things right now. So let's see if we can just, you know, explicitly just click on this thing and then go in, and then, yeah, it turns out it's an SVG. So I'm just going to copy this SVG and then put this in the A tag instead of an image. Then I'm going to save this and then close these two to hide my shame. And then and see what happens there. So never mind. It actually looks like there's some issue with the YouTube logo and it doesn't want to show up. So why is that? It's probably because of all these custom classes, actually. Ugh, that's so annoying. Let me just see if we can make this work by setting explicit width properties. So let's do width 32 and height, I don't know, like 8 or something. I don't know what the aspect ratio that would be. And then if it does work, great. If it doesn't, that's okay too. Okay, yeah, it does look like that works. Oh, no, we got to make the text white. So let me go text white and see if this works. Yeah, probably not because it sets explicit with properties. Let me see if I can invert SVG with Tailwind. I believe this only applies on images. Maybe not. If it doesn't, then this will be great. We will do invert, and then we'll see if this is going to work. If so, Tailwind is a godsend. Oh my goodness, wow, that actually, yeah, that worked. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and invert, not the YouTube icon. We're going to try and invert the text where it says YouTube. So I'm pretty sure this is the second G here. So let me uninvert the first thing, try and invert the second thing, and then I'll save this and reload. Cross your fingers. Boom. Okay, great, it worked. Awesome. So what I can do now too is I can remove this green background here. I don't actually need it because I'm pretty sure we got probably 70% of that done. Oh, crap. It looks like I deleted the YouTube page. So let me open that back up. Drag that over here and then pause this video. Thank you, Mark. Okay, great. So yeah, this is what ours looks like. This is what theirs looks like. So it looks like theirs is a little bit smaller. So we're going to go to that SVG for the YouTube logo. Where the heck is that SVG for the YouTube logo? Let me fix this. Right here. And then we're going to make the width like 20, I don't know. Let's see what values we have available. 28. Let's try that. Okay, so it got a little bit smaller. So it needs to be even smaller than that. Let's go 24. And then we'll also see that this is a little bit, like this is much thicker than what we have on the left. So I'm going to just make the text a little bit gray rather than pure white. And I think that'll help fix. So we're going to say text gray. Let's do like 100. Or actually, we can just go text white, and then we can go opacity like 90 instead. That way it'll take on some of the color of the background instead. Yeah, there you go. That's like a little bit less noticeable. And then the space X will pump up to 6 instead of 4. So there you go. That looks a lot better. Awesome. So that is like the first little section here done. Oh, the last thing I want to do actually is I just want to do href, and then I'll add a little hashtag there. That's just going to make this thing hoverable. It's going to like change the thing when I hover over it. Okay, apparently not. Let's just see if maybe it is the fact that it is a link to nowhere, or maybe it's the fact that this is like hidden underneath something. Let me see if that might be it. Yeah, there you go. That's it. It was actually hidden underneath. So yeah, now we get like hover. We get a little thing to click. We don't actually go over the hamburger icon. I'm not sure if we do on YouTube. Yeah, we do on YouTube. So let me do that on here as well. Really easy way to just add something on top of it. You just go to emit wrap with abbreviation if you're using VS Code. Then you can just type an A, and then yeah, it's automatic. So I'm also going to add another class, Z10. Z10 is just for Z index. So if things are on top of each other, this just brings it to the front level. Z10 will be higher than Z0. Z20 will be higher than Z10 below. Z30 will be higher than Z20 and below, and so on and so forth. So yeah, okay, now we have something that like resembles our YouTube thing pretty well, except for that CA thing, but that's Canada, so screw Canada. Next up, we're going to build this little input field. It looks like we have this search. Based off the top of my head, I believe it is yeah, this is just 2 divs, that's all. You have an input div here, and that input div stretches all the way to the end, and then you have a little button. And that button is, as you see when you mouse over it, you get that kind of like, cursor pointer thing. This would be pretty easy to do. The inside of the input would just be a little bit darker, and then this would be whiter, and then there'd be this SVG inside. So let's do that. Cool, now that we're done with that left div, I'm going to go all the way down to my BG red 500 right over here, and then I'm going to remove the background. I'll also remove the width. I'll keep the H full though, and then I'm going to build an input. And I'm just going to go type text. Let's just see what that looks like. Yeah, so it's all the way up here. Cool, so I'm going to flex, justify center, item center. So I want to justify it to the center of whatever this div is. And I also want it to like be kind of in the middle here rather than all over the place. So if I refresh this, sometimes my rebuild thing looks kind of weird, but yeah, there you go. That looks pretty small, but still pretty good. Okay, a couple things that we see right off the bat. There's a little outline on it. So if I click on this, that weird little black white outline thing comes. We can remove that by going focus outline none. Also, the background color is white, right? And we don't want white. We want this color. We want like darker. So I am going to cheat again and just make a background 900 class, and then go here and just make it a little bit lighter. Let's do that. It's cool. And then if we go over here, we can go background gray 900. Yeah, that's going to lighten up this little top bar just a tad. Oh, sorry, I actually used that on the wrong thing. We want to use it on the main bar here. So BG gray 900, and then down here we don't actually want anything on there. It's on the input that we want the BG gray, I don't know. We'll go BG white, opacity 20 for now, I think. Let's see if that works. Just to get a visual understanding of what the page would look like. Yeah, no, it's actually darker, so my bad. This is going to be BG gray 1000. There we go. This is actually going to be the same color as what's down there. It's annoying I have to refresh this, but is what it is. Cool. Now we got to deal with the height. So this is H full, but the child container isn't. So we'll add some padding. Let's do 3. So let me see what that looks like with 3 on. Yeah, it's a little bit too big. So we'll stick with 2. And then let's go, I have a feeling this has an explicit width property set. Might just be a third of whatever the container is. No, it doesn't look like it. Looks like it's just an explicit width property set. Let's try for width 128 just for now, and let's see how wide that is. Let me give this bad boy a little refresh. So Let me just try for width full too and see if that changes anything. Also kind of annoying, I still have an outline here, even though I went focus. Oh, geez, I did it on the parent div. That's why. Okay. Might just be that there is no width 1/28 class. Yeah, there you go, that was why. So there was actually no width 1/28 class. You can add that in if you want. This looks, yeah, it's pretty big. Pretty big. Let me see what the biggest width class is here. So there is no width 128. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to go width, max width. Let's do like 2XL here. Think that'll probably be wider. Oh, maybe, no, maybe like 4XL and then width full. So we're going to push up against the max width limit, and then let's just go width full as well. So this takes over as much as humanly possible. Refresh that. Yeah, that looks pretty good. We're going to go down to like 3 though. Okay, never mind. We're going to go to XL. So it turns out the issue was that initially I just didn't set up the width right. Okay, cool. That looks pretty close. Now that we have this, we can add our button, and the background is going to be much lighter. Let's do BG gray, like, I don't know, 800. Good God, I'm destroying so many coding conventions here. Okay, I swear if I have to do this one more time, then that's it, man. We're just adding these to Tailwind straight up, and I'm eating my words. It's funny because that is literally what happens every single time you work on a project. You're like, what would the cost be time-wise of just like adding this in, like the proper way? And then you're like, it would take too long, screw it. And then you don't do it. And then later on, you're like, man, I just spent like 10 hours having to deal with the fallout of that crappy decision. Like, good Lord. So yeah, it's just a little bit of my life. Okay, so what did we call that? BG gray 800. Let's do PX4, PY. I want to do the same size as this. So we'll do 2. And then inside, I'm just going to make it like another flex box because I like using flex box and tiny divs like that. We're going to go search. There you go. There's the SVG. Paste that in there. Format it. We'll go text white. And I think that size is probably okay for now. Yeah, that's pretty good. So, obviously we're a little bit ways away. There's some more stuff that we need to do. You'll also notice how this is being pushed over to the left more, and that's just because of the size of this div. So when we fix the size of that div, this will be centered more or less perfectly. So a couple other things that I see a little border. That border is just a little bit lighter than everything else. It's also slightly rounded. So I'm going to go back to my input here. I'm going to go rounded. We'll do SM, and we'll go border. Yeah, border 2. I think that might be a little bit too wide, and then we'll go. Let's go border grade 200, border opacity 50. That might look decent. Let's see here. Yeah, way too thick. So instead of 200, we're going to go like 400, and then we're going to go border opacity 40, and then we're just going to go border. And that should be much closer. Yeah, we can even drop that down further, like 20. Yeah, there you go. Okay, and then there's a placeholder here that says search. And it looks like there's also some padding. If you see when I click, my little cursor is bumping up right against the right-hand side. So we're going to add a little bit of padding here as well. Let's go PX4. And then right here, we're going to go placeholder, and then we're going to say search. And that should resemble what we have here. Yeah, there you go. It's just about the same length. Issue being the placeholder color was different. So we're going to placeholder current, and we'll go text white. And that's actually too bright. So instead, we're going to go text white and then text opacity. Let's do like 70. So about 3/4 is opaque. Let's do 50. Screw it. A little bit on the wild side. Cool. Yeah, it looks pretty close. I mean, the font is different, of course, and I like to fix that, but I think that's decent for now. Okay, great. Let's work on this button. So this button looks like it's a little bit wider than what I have over here. So I'm going to widen this a little bit. We'll go PX5. Is there a stroke width? Yeah, there is a stroke width on the SVG. So I'm actually going to reduce the width of the SVG, make that a little thinner. And by me making it a little bit thinner and increasing the width of that, yeah, we should be basically 1-for-1. So that's pretty good. Okay, cool. So this div here is a thing, but it looks like there's another div that is right beside it. And that other div that's right beside it is where this microphone is. So we actually need to create another div. Nest this div. We'll go flex, and then we'll just go space x2 and then item center. Maybe space x3, item center. And then because we've item centered it and because we've done all that stuff, if I were to add another div here, so sorry, I just want to make sure this has all the same classes. So width full, you know what, we can just copy this. And then here, this would be justify center. Nope, we wouldn't need that. We can go space x for, yeah, 3. Yeah, it should be good. Okay, so and I also gratuitously use these H classes just because I set a strict height property manually. So some people really dislike doing that. I also don't really like doing that, but just for show, I decided that I would. And later on, I'm going to show you how to convert that into a non-explicit height property. Okay, so now it looks like we have a dark background that's a circle. So inside of this div, I'm going to go class flex justify center, item center, BG gray. Let's go to the main background color. Then I'm going to go rounded full. So this is going to be a little like rounded circle thing, basically. Then I'm going to go with, let's do 12 H12. And then inside I'm going to go an SVG. And the SVG is a microphone SVG. So if we go back to Heroicons, we can just go mic, phone. Yeah, they're a little bit different, but I don't really think we're ever going to get the exact same. So I'm just going to copy their little cutout mic, paste that in there. And then let's just bump this up to like H8 with 8. And then let's save it, reload the page, and see what did we do. That is what we did. Okay, so it looks pretty good, all things considered. Maybe it needs to be a little bit smaller. So let me just quickly change the width of that. I also forgot to add on a text white class to that to like make it white. And then there was an issue where it just like pushed all the way to the end. So instead we're just going to justify center, try and smack everything as close together as possible, which should hopefully make it a little bit better. No, it's still stretched out as much as possible. Now, why would that be? Probably because of this width full class. Yeah, probably because of this width full class. Let me remove the width full, and then I bring it in, which is okay, but then we run into an issue where the search bar is kind of pushed up, and then while this is good, we also run into another issue where it's a little bit too tall. So maybe we can make this even smaller. We can make this into H10, H10. Let me see if that fixes things. And then I think there's also stroke width we can probably change to 1. That just seems to be the going theme for this stuff. Stroke width of 1 rather than a stroke width of 2. No, it still looks like we have this issue. I wonder if we were to set the div to be a little bit wider than it is tall, if we could just automatically correct for that and make a circle. Oh, wow. Yeah, I think we literally can. That's cool. Okay, cool. So yeah, in terms of size, that's basically that. The only thing we got to do is we got to change the width of the parent container for this place here. And that parent container is, which one is that? Let me just set it to be the same as what the input was, although this might push out that right button a little bit. Never mind, it just does nothing. Yeah, welcome to my life. Let's go max with 2XL on the parent and see if we can use that to fix the width. That is a no. We will set a max width on that parent. Okay, yeah, so it does stretch it out. This looks like it's a little bit too wide though, so I'm going to turn the space x3 to like space x2 instead. Also, I love how Tailwind has a class called SpaceX, where every single time I say SpaceX, I'm thinking about like SpaceX and Elon Musk. It's kind of funny. Okay, next up, we're going to go to our BG orange, remove that, and also remove the explicit width property. Actually, let's set this to like a fifth, which is what I think it like actually is. And then let's see if this is more centered. Yeah, we can even go more, like a sixth. Remove this BG orange class. Yeah. Yeah, so like the smaller that this thing gets, the more this is pushed in. So eventually this will make it perfectly to where I want it to go. Okay, anyway, now we have another div on the right-hand side, and inside of the div we have 4 like little icons. So this is going to be probably the easiest thing we've done so far. So I'm just going to keep the height at full, and then I'll go flex, space X. Let's do 3, and then item center. And now we're just going to have like 4 SVGs. So it looks like there's this like video icon thing. So I'm just going to, I'm just going to use this one because I can. And then we're going to, that one's going to look decent. The YouTube thing continues getting big every now and then, but I think that's just an artifact from reloading. So a couple things we got to do here. We got to add text white class to that. Let's make this a little bit bigger, and then let's move on to the other ones while I'm doing it. So we have this little grid, looks like. So let me just see if there's grid. Yeah, it looks like there's a grid. It's 4 instead of 9, but that should be okay. We also have this height 6, width 6 thing, which I'll fix in a second. And then we also have another one here, which is a bell. So let me see if they have a bell. Do they have a bell? Yeah, they have a bell. Of course they have a bell. How could I even ask? What a silly question. And then we just have a circle with like somebody's face in there, and that's really just your profile pic. So for that, we could just make a div, set it to the same height and width, and then set the BG to white, I would say. It's probably the most realistic. And notice that I didn't update the height and width properties here. That's because I'm just going to show you a VS Code trick where if you just hold Control D. Oh, hold on. I wanted to make them all happen at the same time, but I screwed that up. Okay, cool. If you just highlight something and press Control D, it'll select the second instance of it. Do it again, it'll select the third, and so on and so on and so forth. So we actually want this to be H7 width 7, and then we want the text to be white. So we can actually just do that all at the same time by just writing that, basically. So yeah, if we refresh that, we will see our icons will become a little bit bigger. And oh man, they look nowhere near as cool as the YouTube ones. That really bothers me. And it looks like I also didn't round the container. Rounded full. Let's do that. Yeah, I really don't like the stroke width of 2, so I'm just going to go through, select them all, as I've done before, and then just change that to a 1. That should help. Hopefully I didn't automatically select. Yeah, it looks like I selected the hamburger menu, so let me go all the way back up to this hamburger menu, and then where I set the opacity of the hamburger menu, I'm going to remove that opacity change, so hopefully that will look a little more similar. And then this is spaced out more, obviously, so I'm going to go to where I did space X2, no, space X3, and I'm going to space X5 instead. Now let's see that. Honestly, could be even more. It's not really anymore. Looks like just because they have this scroll bar thing, which is a separate div, it pushes our nav in a little bit more. So yeah, when we get the page big enough such that we will have that happen, then we can worry about it then. Okay, cool. So yeah, there are a couple little differences. The width, the padding. Actually, looks like I went a little too egregiously strong on the padding, so I'm going to pump the padding down from PX8 to PX7. You'll notice that this is a fixed container, and there's actually a little bit of opacity behind it. So you can actually see, like if you zoom in, Gary Vaynerchuk's face, his beautiful bearded face. So what we're going to do for that is, I don't know, what are we going to do for that? We are going to make it fixed. I'll go fixed, and then I'll go top 0, and then I will have this be relative, and then, oh, I got to go, yeah, actually, no, I think that's it. This should now be fixed. Excellent. Yeah, this is now fixed. We can also go BG opacity 90, and then we can remove that gray 900 class. We can go 1000 class, and then that's probably why it was lighter. Let me see. Oh, no, it's not. It's because the background's light. So sorry, we're going to go back to 900 here. It's actually going to get darker now. We'll refresh this, yeah. Yeah, I'd say that's probably about as close as you could get without just copying their icons. Oh, another thing we could do is we could wrap all of these SVGs in A tags, because those SVGs, like if you go back to the YouTube thing, they're clickable, right? So your mouse changes when you hover over them. So I could just take advantage of this wrap thing that I've done before. So you just highlight, I do Control-Shift-P. This wrap with abbreviation pops up. Excuse me. Click enter, and then I press A, and then I press enter, and then I now have like links. So if I select that, and then refresh to get rid of the artifact. And then, oh yeah, another thing we got to do is we got to add the Z10 on that to make it bump out. And I think I did this on the button, but I have to do this on the individual elements, don't I? Yeah, I do. So let's try that. So now when I hover over it, it still does not do the thing. Let me try that. Okay, I think I have officially broke the internet. Cool. Instead of that, I'm just going to go cursor pointer. And actually, why don't I just go cursor pointer on this instead of that? Okay, never mind. Oh, Jesus. Oh, good Lord, I've been on the wrong button this entire time. Yeah, boom, there you go. That'll do it. That'll do it. Okay, let me try going Z10 on there and then wrapping this in an A tag and then doing that. And let me see if that will actually fix things. Yeah, that will fix things. Good Lord, I feel silly. However, that does not detract from the fact that we actually did need that button, and we also need to do that there on the microphone. So I'm going to assume that the microphone is just a button, because most microphones are, like, if you have a microphone functionality, you're probably not navigating to a different page or something. You're probably actually changing that, like, you know, it's some script that runs. When you click it, like, you know, opens the microphone feature or whatever. So I'm going to do that. And let me just remember where I am. Yeah, that looks good. Let's just change this from a div into a button. And then reformat. And then, yeah, there you go. Cool. The artifacts of the reload are unfortunately very annoying. And then I'm going to do the same thing that I did back there with the A tag. It's just I'm going to do that on all the SVGs. So this is just a little bit of housekeeping. And if I go back, then all of these should work. Awesome, except for my div here, which doesn't. And that's because I just did not. I can just make this into an A tag, actually. There you go. Cool. Awesome. So, yeah, I mean, that was a fair amount of time. What are we at now? Like 40 minutes or something? 35 minutes to create this title tag, this nav bar. You can imagine how the rest of the build is going to be significantly faster just because we've established a couple of fundamentals like the colors and, you know, the way that things are laid out. It looks like they're using flex not instead of grid, stuff like that. Once you've built a design system, once you've found resources like places to get, you know, your buttons and crap like that, it's usually a lot easier to build out, you know, like a system. And that's more or less what we've done here. So in the next video, I'm going to cut this one here. In the next video, I'm going to build out the rest of this YouTube landing a video page thing, and it's gonna be a lot faster than you think. I'm gonna use a screenshot for this, and I'm not gonna have like these little play button stuff. I'm just gonna use an image there. But you can imagine how if you were an actual designer at a big company with a design, sorry, an actual developer at a big company with like a design, and you were handed this lovely landing page, as long as you have sufficient knowledge of Tailwind CSS, you could probably rebuild that in a few hours, right? It does not have to take that long. This isn't like the design days of old, where before you even get started, you have to completely flesh out like a complete design system from start to finish. You can actually just get started, prototype something. Yeah, it's not going to be the most efficient, but you are going to get like 90% of the way there. And then you can send that off to somebody else for that extra 10%, or you can worry about that after you've launched your MVP or something like that. So I'd say it's probably one of Tailwind's biggest strengths. You don't have to worry about like making everything perfect. The reason why the spacing and stuff like that isn't just like super lined up is because they don't care. They say, well, dude, like, does it really matter if it's like PX 1.5 versus PX 2? Only if you have like crazy OCD about this stuff. Otherwise, you should just get it out, launch it, get that MVP out the door, and you know, worry about iterating and refining and stuff like that after. Awesome. That was it for this video. I will see you guys in the next, where I will build out the rest of this wonderful landing page video thing. See you there.